Hey everybody, welcome back to another Dice Tower review. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
Today we're going to be taking a look at Paleo, A New Beginning. This is an expansion to Paleo, which is going to give you a new setting, some new modules you can mix in there, and basically more content, quite a bit more content, in order to refresh Paleo for you. We're going to go ahead and show you what comes in here in the overview. I will not be explaining the game whatsoever. I'm expecting you to know how to play Paleo. But I will show you all the components that come in here, give you a look at some of the new ideas, like the farm and so forth. And then we'll come on back and we'll tell you what we think of it. Here we go. So here we're taking a look at all of the components that come in the expansion. Whenever you are playing with the expansion, and that can be any of the modules that come in it, mixed with any of these other modules or the ones from the original core game, anytime you do that and you use part of this, you are going to have to use a new deck of characters, replacing the original deck, and you are going to use a new core deck of cards that the modules will be shuffled into. So both of these will change when you're using the expansion. There's also a few new dreams that you're going to shuffle into the deck, and 3 new inventions there that, again, you'll shuffle into the deck. So new ideas here, new concepts. Well, the farm is the biggest change from the original game. You are going to have this board that begins with 1 fenced-in area, and this board is going to allow you to capture animals, to domesticate those animals, and to get resources from those animals without having to hunt that specific animal. There's also the idea of a new resource, this grain, that you can gather and more consistently turn into food. One big rule change is that at the end of every day in this game, if you play with the expansion, the food is going to spoil. You do not carry over food from game to game, and this reminder is here to let you know that. So all your food is going to go, and then for every animal you've got, you need to have that area penned in. So you would be okay with 1 animal there, but these 2, if you had 2 more there, that would not be all right. So you need the fence, or you need to give up grain, or you need to give up the animal itself. So if I had 2 of them, say this sheep over here that comes from Module M, if that animal was there, then I'm good. If there was something else here and this is here, I would have to, pay grain for 1 of the 2 or let 1 of them go. I can freely rearrange those, by the way. It doesn't matter. So there you go, that's a big change. Now new symbols that are going to show up in the deck here are going to allow you to capture those animals, and some of the new symbols also let you do things at home. So I'll take a look at this one here. This is again from the new core deck. So the top one there is represents the home area here, and new things you can do. You can build new fences. The scythe here can go there and allows us to get more grain. This one over here will allow you to turn grain into food, and then the hut, the roof for the hut, lets you put this once you build it on the silly little hut here. And once you do that, then your people can sleep indoors. During the nighttime, you will recover 2 health. And it's, again, kind of a meaningless little 3D structure, but it's attractive. So that's that. This one here has to do with the animals. When you do that one, then you can either get whatever the animals produce. So again, if this animal is here, I'll scoot it down so you can see it. I can produce that. For every animal, I get the choice when I trigger the symbol. I can produce and I get whatever they make, or I can slaughter the animal, and without having to meet this requirement, I would get the 2 meat and the pelt. And so, again, you can capture animals now. That's the main twist there. A few new things you can build up, a few new modules. Like I said, you have modules M now, all the way up through R, and you can mix and match those, just like in the original game. So that's the general flow, that's the general idea. More to do, more consistent things you can keep around, but obviously I don't want to give you any spoilers by revealing anything really, just 1 or 2 cards and that'll do it. But hopefully that gives you enough of an idea of what's going on, how this changes the core game, to give you a flavor, a little feel for how the gameplay might be different. Let's go ahead and go back up top. All right, so there you go. That's the expansion. This is a game that I was I figured an expansion to this game would give me more of those lettered decks.
Sure.
Right.
And that pretty much would be it. That would pretty much be everything I needed.
Right.
This kind of does that, but it does two things which I thought were kind of weird. It jumps the game forward in time by like 1,000 years.
I was going to get to that.
Yep.
Okay? And it changes the, I guess cadence is not quite the right word, the sort of time frame of the game. Like running through the
Okay.
deck in the old game and just Paleo is a day.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah.
In this game, that's still a day. But during that day, you have like domesticated cows and you have
Right.
built a farm. It's like it's the best day ever. I mean, it's amazing what you've been able to accomplish in one day. So I thought that was weird. Again, more decks, kind of what I was thinking. But they've sort of changed the game also in this expansion. And I personally, I'm a little thrown by that.
No, I was going to say, I agree with that. I definitely found that the timing to be kind of an issue. Like, how much is happening in that? I mean, you go from nothing to having a farm to building a fence, but then all your meat spoils overnight as well, you know? Like, so you can
Very
now,
warm.
unless you cage them in and, you know, can kind of keep them.
Right.
But that's, again, it's simultaneously a lot happens in a day, but not enough is able to happen in a day that you're able to actually set yourself up for the next day. You know,
Yeah.
it's a whole lot of work in order to get you to where the game and that one day helps you in the future, you know, to kind of get that engine building, I guess, for lack of a better word, to kind of get that going into it. It's a lot of work, which detracts you from the main point of the game. And so I definitely felt like a split focus. It's like, okay, do I focus on my farm and kind of get this so I don't have to worry about so much about food, set myself up for next round better, but you really do sacrifice this whole round. You know, and so it's a weird, like, kind of split focus that I kind of struggled with.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thematic element is a little bit, I actually found it humorous because you called the game Paleo, and this is all about the Neolithic Revolution.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, hold
The
on.
animal and,
Right,
and
yeah.
domestication of animals and the birth of agriculture. And so, yes, you have to kind of check your thematic brain at the door there for this. So I'm going to just come right out to kind of what, like, my whole thesis. I'm going to make it sound really
all right.
Oh, boy, okay.
nice
All
there
right,
behind
We
the
have a thesis, everybody. Hold on.
This
We've
whole-
got a thesis in the house.
expansion. This is not the type of expansion that I'm going to recommend at all for people that have played the game a couple of times.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
At all. Now, I think why that becomes maybe a little bit, I don't know if problematic is too strong a word, but throws you off a little bit, is that this is, by its very nature, a modular game, right? And so when you, like you said, when we played Paleo the first time, we thought, oh man, this is going to be easy. Just throw a few extra decks, there's your expansions,
Yes.
kind of keep things going. And they did not exactly go that route. As a matter of fact, if you're going to play with any of this expansion material, there's 2 full decks you change out, even if
Right.
you're playing with decks from the original game. So they did go with a different route there. And I think what you said, Camilla, is spot on, and I get the impression that it was a purposeful thing. It absolutely changes your focus, and my guess is that that was purposely done for people that have played out Paleo.
Sure.
I think
Possibly,
that's
yeah.
really what it is, because while those decks are replayable, while those scenarios are replayable, and they give you kind of recommended scenarios to mash these 2 decks together, you really could just put any 2 decks together and go. I think this is for people that feel like they've kind of played out the first one. I kind of know what this does. I kind of know what this deck is about. You know, this is going to change that. Now you've got something completely different to think about. You've got your animals you have to worry about. You've got different things to build. You've got new tools. You've got all kinds of new things that come into it. And so if you're just looking for more Paleo, this isn't it.
Right.
If you're looking for Paleo with a new focus that is a bit more complex,
Yeah.
I think that's what this is doing. So it depends on what you're looking for, I think.
Yeah, I think, again, you hit something also that I wanted to come back to, is that idea of split focus. And I agree with what you're saying. To me, this expansion changes the core game too much, in my opinion. I feel the core game is, for one thing, set in the Paleolithic era, but also it's a game of survival.
Yes.
There's no engine building, really. You know, I guess you could count you're gathering better people or bigger, clan or whatever. The stronger, you're able to do more, sure. But this one feels dramatically different. There's that whole engine building part that I think changes the feel of the game. I would have loved for this to have been its own game. I don't think this feels... It changes the game too much to feel like a proper expansion. I don't recommend it to people who like Paleo. Because if they really liked Paleo, this is a different flavor. This is not the same game. You might not like this.
Right.
You might not like the feeling of, oh, I just wanted to hunt and get beefier people and be able to deal with bad stuff and see who survives. This has a different feel than that. I'm gathering the goats and I'm gathering my grain with my scythe. It's a wholly different approach to, I guess, traversal through a story, you know?
Right. No, I mean, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Where
That's
I
why
felt
I do it.
if this was its own game, I think I'd be looking at it very differently. You know,
Right.
whereas like this is Neolithic, a new beginning, you know, whatever. I mean, think if it's
Neo, a paleo game.
Right, exactly.
That's how you do it.
Like if it's its standalone game, I'd be excited about it, I think,
Yeah.
you know, but as far as Paleo goes and taking that system, it fit thematically, it fit for that survival kind of in that period of what it was going for. I think, again, just some more decks to kind of freshen that up, give you some new challenges. This doesn't feel like it brings new challenges. It feels like it completely overhauls the game. And to me, that's a separate game. Again, if you've played the game out, you know, and you feel like you've survived all you can survive and you're ready for that next step, then yeah, maybe this is what you're looking for. But for me specifically, I wanted more Paleo, more challenges. Let me take A and now R, you know, and put them together or whatever, and to have that new challenge. A whole different game, a different split focus. I think it would have been better as a standalone game.
And this also makes the game longer, by the way. Most of these decks, M through R or whatever it is, most of those are considerably bigger than the decks in the original game.
They are longer.
Which means if you're using two of these, one of the scenarios takes 3 of them, the game will be longer. It's
For sure.
Again, it just kind of outstays its welcome at that point if it really is very long. I get what they were trying to do here. Fix, like you were saying, maybe respond to the original game. Hey, there's not as much control. Hey, we're not able to, there's got to be easier ways to get food. We keep trying to fight and fail. Okay, there's grain. Okay, there's animals you can pen and get consistent things.
Or whatever,
or slaughter them when you're ready for that. I understand what they were going for. I think it changes the feeling of the game personally. I would have loved a standalone follow-up with some of the ideas that going through a deck with everybody is a brilliant, it's a stroke of genius. It makes a cooperative game feel different from a lot of co-op games. And again, you can wrap whatever else you want around that. But changing the original game this much gives me pause as to you know, would I recommend it to someone? I'd really have to ask them, well, what did you like about the first one? You know, would managing things, you know, sort of a communal engine building, would that be of interest to you? Because this is going to give you that, which was not in the first. You know?
Yeah.
So, final thoughts. Who wants to start?
I'll go.
You go.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. It's not that I didn't enjoy this. I think if somebody had this and I knew what I was getting into, I'd happily play it. But I'm not going to be able to recommend it. I'm going to come in at a 6 on this. I don't have huge problems with it, other than I just think it changes the base game too much in a direction that I didn't care for. I definitely wanted to see more content for Paleo, and I don't feel like that's what we got. I thought we did get something completely different. One positive thing for it is in my plays of this, I did find that there were more opportunities to get ideas, new ideas and fresh ideas in your deck, and I did like that. That was really exciting. At first I was like, wow, this happened very rarely before in base Paleo, and so I thought that's more the direction they were going to do, is to utilize what they already have from the base game more, and it's not. It really is just a complete left turn in the game, and I personally didn't care for that. I wouldn't really recommend it as an expansion specifically.
Right, and that's the thing right there. I'm coming down to a 6 as well, and here's what I keep coming back to. Somebody knowing nothing about Paleo, if they asked me, is Paleo or is Paleo plus A New Beginning a better game? I think this is a better game. My issue was, you put out Paleo first. You won awards. People got to know Paleo. They understand what that is. This isn't quite that. this changes the core game too much. And I personally just have a little bit of a problem with expansions that do that. You sold me cake, then you told me it was pound cake, now it's just a pound, and those things aren't actually the same thing, and that analogy is terrible, okay?
I didn't follow that from the top.
Okay? Here's what I'm saying. Cake is delicious. No, I'm going to drop that analogy immediately. But if you know nothing about it and you don't have a problem with this kind of engine building that happens in this game, and you know that going in, which is another thing that would help, that shock value of like, wait, what is all this stuff? What is all this, managing of what? I'm putting animals in pens now? I thought I was hunting. I thought I had a tribe. This is like a bunch of farmers. All the changes are a little shocking, but if you go into it knowing that, or you don't know Paleo at all, I think this is a solid expansion that makes the original game does shore up some of those weaknesses, without you having known the original game, though. So that's my issue there. I think this changes what was there a little too much for me personally. I want more of that. So that's my 6.
All right, well, the bold hypothesis, but I'm going to stick with my theory. So, no, here's my thing. I'm coming at
Cake, right?
Cake.
Well, look,
Pound cake.
cake is delicious.
Yes.
You know what is also delicious?
What's that?
Cheesecake.
Oh,
Is
disagree.
cheesecake cake? I don't know. I know it's delicious.
It's not cheese either, I think.
It's not cheese. So
That was much
anyway,
better.
I'm
See, there
giving
you
this
go.
a qualified recommendation out of 7. So
Okay.
here's my thing. Does it change the game? Yes. I don't know if I find it as jarring of a change as you, both of you, it sounds like, do. To me, the core of Paleo is this system of the face-down decks,
Yeah.
having limited information, and solving problems, whatever they may be. They can be show up in a lot of different ways. And being able to either play the cards for yourself or play cards to help people.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, to me, those are the main hooks of Paleo, and they're still here. Okay? Now, they're adding other stuff, and they are shifting focus. I 100% agree with that. And that's why it's not a high recommendation. Base Paleo, I adore. I like it a lot, and it's in my, top games of all time. And I agree with you that I will not necessarily recommend this to players just, go get it. I'm going to ask questions first.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, how often have you played Paleo? Do you feel like you've played it out? Because I don't think you should add this until you feel like you've seen what there is to see in Paleo.
Sure.
All right? If you've played enough Paleo that you start to feel like the mystery, the adventure is gone, because that is one of the big things, then I say maybe go this direction, because now you're getting a slightly different experience with the same core mechanism. So I don't disagree with you, and I'm not, obviously we're talking a difference between a 6 and a 7, but it is a difference between a recommendation or not. It's a qualified recommendation for me, but I think the core of the game is so solid, that's why I'm willing to overlook that it changes the focus a little bit.
I agree with you. It is, and I would go a step further and say that, I would recommend this if you've either played Paleo a lot or not at all.
You could go that route, because it doesn't really change the complexity too much, a little bit.
Right.
But it shifts the focus a little bit.
But if you haven't played Paleo out the base, I will say in my plays, and I've played, a decent amount of Paleo. I don't think I've played it out completely.
Sure,
I'm not
right.
over it by any means. But in my plays of this, I had to consult BGG multiple times on questions.
For rules
Yeah, for
questions,
rules questions, for symbology. What is it talking about here? Is it this or that? I mean, so I kind of struggle recommending it to somebody who has no experience with Paleo.
Okay.
Because I had to consult BGG and I know how to play base. So that's to consider as well.
Okay, well, there you go. That is Paleo, A New Beginning, folks. Thanks very much for checking out this review with us. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
Enjoy your newfound goats.
Cheesecake.
Pound cake.